The morning mist clung to the dense forest of the Appalachian Mountains like a veil, turning everything a murky gray. Jeremiah McKenna stood at the edge of his family's cabin porch, a massive, weather-beaten rifle slung across his broad shoulder. His sharp blue eyes scanned the woods. Something was out there, something dangerous. "Papa." Jeremiah turned to see his daughter Sarah standing in the doorway, her fiery red hair wild like her mother's used to be. At just 10, she already had the fierce spirit of the McKenna line. She carried the family name with pride, but this, whatever lurked in the forest, was a burden she couldn't shoulder. Not yet. "Inside, Sarah. I need you to look after your brother. I'll be back before sunset." Sarah's green eyes glistened, but she didn't argue. The McKennas were tough folk. They had to be. The land was harsh, and so were the times. But this new threat? It was something more primal than drought, wolves, or the bitter winter. This was a bear, and not just any bear. It was a beast. Just last week, the Johnson boy had wandered too far into the woods and never came back. When they found what was left of him, even the strongest men in the town had turned pale. The boy had been ripped apart like he was nothing more than kindling. Jeremiah had seen the signs before, the claw marks on the trees, the massive paw prints crushed into the mud. But never had he seen a creature so bold as to come this close to human land. The elders whispered that it was an ancient spirit, a demon that stalked the mountains, angered by the encroaching settlers. Jeremiah didn't care for legends. He believed in what he could shoot. And today, he was going to find that bear and end this nightmare once and for all. Jeremiah felt a hand on his arm. His brother Liam had come up from behind, his face set in grim determination. "You ready?" "Aye," Jeremiah replied, his voice low. "We're going to need all the firepower we can carry." The two brothers trudged through the thick underbrush, their footsteps almost silent, honed by years of hunting in these woods. They knew the land better than anyone, but that didn't mean the land wasn't still dangerous. Liam, younger by only a year, had always been the reckless one, but today he was just as cautious as Jeremiah. The threat they were facing was unlike any they'd ever seen. Hours passed, and the light from the weak autumn sun began to fade. The deeper they went into the woods, the quieter it became. No birdsong, no rustling leaves, just the sound of their breathing and the occasional snap of a twig underfoot. "I don't like it, Jeremiah," Liam said, his voice barely above a whisper. "It's too quiet." Jeremiah nodded. He could feel it too, that unsettling stillness that seemed to hang in the air. They were being watched. But by what? Or who? Suddenly, there was a sharp crack from the trees ahead. Both men froze, rifles raised, their eyes darting through the thick foliage. The sound came again, this time louder, followed by a low, menacing growl. It reverberated through the trees, deep and guttural, more beast than animal. Jeremiah motioned for Liam to stay low. They crept forward until they reached the edge of a small clearing. And there, standing in the middle of it, was the creature. The bear was massive, larger than any they had ever seen. Its black fur was matted and thick, its shoulders hulking like those of a nightmare beast. But it wasn't the size of the bear that sent a chill down Jeremiah's spine. It was its eyes. They gleamed with an unnatural intelligence, a cold and ancient malice that sent waves of fear through him. Liam's breath hitched beside him. Dear God. Jeremiah didn't have time to think. The bear charged, moving faster than any animal its size should be able to. Its powerful legs thundered through the clearing, and before Jeremiah could react, it was almost on them.
Shoot!
Liam raised his rifle, the crack of the shot echoing through the trees. The bullet struck the bear in its shoulder, but it didn't stop. The beast roared in fury, barreling toward them. Jeremiah aimed, steadying his nerves, and fired. His shot caught the bear in the chest, but still, it kept coming, as if pain only made it stronger. The brothers scrambled backward, reloading as fast as they could, but the bear was relentless. It swiped at Liam with its massive paw, catching him across the arm. Blood sprayed across the clearing, and Liam stumbled, crashing into the underbrush.
No!
Jeremiah screamed, firing again and again, desperately trying to slow the beast. The bear reared up on its hind legs, towering over him. And for a moment, Jeremiah thought it was the end. But then, something changed. The beast hesitated, its dark eyes locking with Jeremiah's, as if sizing him up. Then, without warning, it dropped back to all fours and turned, retreating into the woods, disappearing as quickly as it had come. Jeremiah rushed to Liam's side, his heart pounding in his chest. His brother was pale, clutching his arm where the bear had struck, but he was alive. "We need to get you home," Jeremiah said, his voice thick with relief and exhaustion. "That thing, it's not natural, Jeremiah." Liam groaned, but nodded. Jeremiah didn't answer. He didn't need to. Whatever that bear was, it wasn't just an animal. It was something far older, far darker. As they made their way back toward the cabin, Jeremiah couldn't shake the feeling that this hunt wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The sun had set by the time they emerged from the forest, the cabin's lanterns glowing faintly in the distance. Jeremiah cast one last look over his shoulder at the dark woods. The bear was still out there, watching, waiting, and it would be back. That night, Jeremiah sat on the porch, his rifle across his lap. The stars were bright in the sky, but they offered no comfort. Somewhere in the darkness, the beast still lurked. The McKenna family had survived the day, but the hunt was far from over. And next time, Jeremiah vowed, he would be ready. The thrill of the hunt lingers, the weight of survival ever present in the shadows of the forest. The bear had tasted blood, but so had the McKennas. And in the wilds of the Appalachian Mountains, there was no such thing as peace. Only the brief, tenuous quiet before the next storm.